What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the PlayStation Spider-Man Miles Morales game. The reason I'm not referring to it as a PS4 game is because it's also on PS5. The Spider-Man 2 game is probably going to be PS5 game. You know, that it's just going to be the Spider-Man PS5 game as opposed to the Spider-Man PS4 game, and this one's just sort of weird middle ground. But enough of my rambling, onto the review. I love this game. I had deliberately held off on playing this game since October when I put it on my, when I downloaded it onto my PlayStation, because I knew that No Way Home would be coming out in December, and I just thought, well, you know, between a video game and a movie, you know, like I could also do like a rewatch of all the old ones and rank them. I could give my thoughts on where I think things are going to go afterwards and what Sony's going to do with all of their Spider-Man IPs now that they've, you know, had a film that's going to blow open the multiverse. Like, what projects are they going to do? So I could do a theory video. I ended up being like, well, I can do a whole, like, just Spider-Man week. And that ended up being the week that I didn't upload anything, because I was just so busy being run off my feet with work and other social commitments. Like I went up to the Bago Maze with my D&D group, and did sort of a little Christmas thing with my godson. I went to the Hunter Valley Garden Lights, which wasn't even like 4 days later. This last week I had 4 days of work as opposed to my usual 3. It was at the beginning of the week rather than at the end of the week, and a whole bunch happening, and I just didn't end up uploading anything. So we're making up for it now. This is my Christmas present to you, just a big old dump of YouTube videos. And this one is, as I said before, the video game, Spider-Man Miles Morales. I think I'm gonna go into spoiler territory. If you haven't played the game, it's been out long enough. I mean, I didn't even get it when it first came out, so there was already a bunch of things where if I got stuck, I could just Google it, as opposed to being there on the day trying to figure it out for myself, sort of thing. So I had a much easier time playing the game and being able to overcome certain obstacles, but at the same time also had to try and, if I wanted to have, you know, the initial reaction to finding out big plot twists and stuff, I had to try and avoid those spoilers. Not that the game really gives you much gameplay before blowing its big reveal, and then just takes time with showing you the repercussions of its big reveal. But anyone who's eagle-eyed enough, when you get to the first little time capsule, which is a main story mission, the cube says Finn Mason on it, and anyone who knows, Phineas Mason is the Tinkerer. And by this point you already know that the Tinkerer is in charge of the underground, and that Finn Mason is Miles Morales' other best friend from middle school, that he won a science award with for an energy converter. So yeah, you don't you're not that far into the story before it's like, oh yeah, by the way, like your best friend's the villain. Have fun with that. But it does do well in taking its time revealing how that influences the characters involved. Like, you're actually part of that struggle of how do I tell my best friend that I'm Spider-Man and I want to help them do what it is they're doing, but in a way that's not going to hurt people, as opposed to Finn feeling like she's been lied to over and over and over and over again until she just can't trust him anymore. And it's just, the story is great. The little side missions that they have are kind of cool. The new gadgets you get are awesome. I hope some of them make it into some, if not all. I mean, there's only 4 gadgets, and one of them's just the regular web shooters anyway. So really only 3 gadgets, like 3 additional gadgets, as opposed to the last game, like the full game's 7. But if rumours are to be believed, and you will get to play as both Peter Parker and Miles in the next game, it'd be really cool if they combined those and gave them each 5 sort of thing, because you can have a total of 10. You just give Miles web shooters plus 5 others, give Peter web shooters plus 5 others, and make it that you have to switch between them, sort of Batman and Nightwing style in the Arkham games during combat. I think that'd be really cool. And that certain side missions should only be allowed to be done by Peter, and certain side missions should only be allowed to be done by Miles, making a full playthrough have to involve both characters. I think that'd be cool. But no, the gravity well is my personal favourite. I love pulling in all my enemies to one spot before just doing a big old venom ground and pound, and just electrocuting them all, or I'll, gravity well them all in one place and then go in for the launch, because they'll take damage from the gravity well, they'll take damage from being launched up into the air, and then it only takes like 2 hits to knock them out while they're in the air, meaning that you can easily knock out 3 or 4 bad guys before you touch the ground again. It's great. Combat is so easy in this game because the underground is a bunch of little 5 little words for female dogs. Yeah, they're nothing. The shield dudes that charge at you, the guys with swords, they're probably the hardest ones, because your shielded dudes are essentially your big brutes, so you need 2 takedowns banked up before you can do a finisher on them. And the sword dudes act as the whip guys. So still the same types of enemies, just different weapons, different ways that they attack. And then Roxxon instead of Sable, International. Like, you can really just sort of 1-for-1 these guys. It's not that hard. What else do I love about this game? I love that it's a Christmas story. I thought that was like I was saying earlier, I deliberately left this for December, and then it turns out it's a Christmas game. So I'm like, this just helps tie it in so much further to like the whole theme of the month. Like, here it is, a Christmas game with a Spider-Man in it. I've got a Spider-Man week that I had planned during the month for Christmas, and it just couldn't have worked out more in my favour if I had made the game myself. So yeah, but yeah, other than that, I think we're going to get a little bit critical here for a second, but I think some of the story beats, as I was saying before, you can kind of one-for-one the enemies, but it's fine. Most games do that. You have your sort of like your base ones, then you have these ones that have more strength, these ones have a better defense. These guys are, you know, your ones that you have to use aerial combat on, that sort of thing. Most games have those sorts of things in place. It's how they diversify the villain, like the enemy pool a little bit. Because obviously your unique battles are going to be saved for your boss battles. But I think for this game, some of the story beats were just recycled from the old game. Like Rio's running for city council, and you do have this moment where Miles is concerned that, like, you know, the underground interferes with it the same way that the demons interfered with the town hall thing when his dad is getting the medal, which is obviously when his dad died, and then Miles is like, you could have died, and it's just, it's understandable from a psychological point of view of like, this bad thing happened the last time something like this was going on and villains intervened. So like, it's psychologically understandable, but as far as story is concerned, it just sort of, yeah, I felt like we've already done this part of the story. What's the new content? Similarly, having the best friend be a science genius that invented their own superpower. If that's not Otto Octavius from the original game, I don't know what is. So yeah, essentially the underground ends up just being Finn. If Finn was Doc Ock and the underground were the demons, then Finn just ends up coming in and taking over and sort of being the Mr. Negative character as well, sharing his powers, or he has her powers, with the foot soldiers that she's gonna just have out there to distract Spider-Man. So yeah, some things were just sort of like, yeah, no, this is just how comic books work, we'll do it again, why not? And I think, as much as I love this game, I would really like some original story beats in the next game. And I think that's my only, like, because obviously with the first game, like, there's nothing before it to take from. But this one could easily have just been a, you know, like you could have done, like, they even reused the villain of Rhino, instead of bringing in, like, I think it would have been really cool to have some dopey character like Kangaroo show up. You know, like, he has such a dumb power set, and he still would have been able to fit him in to the, you know, heavily armored tank boss battle thing. Could have easily have done that, but yeah, they even like reused that. Some of the raft prisoners are still out committing crimes after the breakout. Like, there's just a lot of like, we're going to use this game to tie up some of the loose ends so that the second game everything can make sense. But that's like, and the easiest sort of, for me anyway, comparison that I can make for Miles Morales is to Infamous First Light, where it's kind of the side story for, in that game's case, it's for Fetch, who was sort of a major character in Second Son, but that game actually was just like yeah, let's take you back to before. Let's show you how she got to the point where you need her. And they did like a before story. I understand that that couldn't happen in this because before Miles didn't have his powers, but I still feel like there was time where you could have just done some flashbacks and had some of like the stealth missions that the original game had, where you like they even have one where you have to try and sneak into your own exhibit. So it's in there. This mission's in there, and it gives you the like backstory of like how good they were as friends, you know, the sorts of plans they had together as friends, them being Miles and Finn, and you get to see that in a flashback, and I think that could have been like that sort of stuff could have been a lot cooler. Yeah. I mean, Miles even keeps bringing up like his uncle and why he's no longer able to see him, and that in the mission where you're helping Uncle Aaron right at the beginning of the game, he even mentions that him and his nephew used to mix beats, meaning that they have spent time together before. So I think it would have been really cool to go back and sort of explore what was Miles doing when Jefferson found out that his brother was the Prowler. Like that could have been cool, and you could have had that be a stealth mission playing as Prowler. In the same way that the original game, you had missions where you played as Mary Jane. I think that could have been, like, there could have been a couple of things they could have added in just to make it, you know, more immersive into the Miles Morales character without having to repeat the basic sort of framework of some of the missions. Like, you can take the idea of it's a flashback or it's a stealth mission or whatever from the original game, but still make them unique enough that they don't feel like they're retreading old plot points. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's like my one little complaint. Like I said, I think this game is amazing. I love it so much. I'm currently playing my New Game Plus playthrough, and all I've got to do to 100% complete the game now is finish my New Game Plus. I'm playing it on the ultimate difficulty. I'm not going to do many of the side missions because once I finish the story mode, I will have 100% of the trophies for this game, and then I'm probably just going to switch it back down to sort of a more average difficulty to do all of the side quests, because the side quests aren't important for the actual game itself, and I've already got all of the suits, I've already got all of the skills, I've already got all of the gadgets, so I don't need the tokens anymore. So it's literally just finish the story and I've completed the game 100%. So yeah, I do love this game, but I just feel like there were things where they could have made it a little bit more interesting. But yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got for this video. So if you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. While you're up there, ring that notification bell as well, please. It would be greatly appreciated. It turns on those push notifications so that you can stay up to date when I upload new videos. If you enjoyed this one, please give it a big old thumbs up. And until next time, guys, keep your heads